couple days ago, I bought some items on a online auction as a local machine shop that was closing in the area. It was actually down in Florida. I'm up in South Carolina. And anyway, over the years, I've kind of developed a relationship with the auction company. And so for small items, you know, things under 60 pounds, I've been able to get them to basically deliver them to a UPS store. Then I can kind of work out a deal directly with UPS on the shipping. And so what it's allowed me to do is kind of bid on some items that are far away from where I'm at to get small tools and stuff like that that I wouldn't necessarily drive 9 hours down into Florida to pick up. So anyway, I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff that I bought and what the auctions were, and kind of go through some of these tools. So I bought 5 lots in this auction. I've already kind of separated them out, so I could probably figure out and stitch them back into lots, but it really doesn't matter. I bought these tool holders here. These are Dixon tool holders. This is a M90, and it's made by a company called Matosa. And basically I have a clothing mill, and what it is a Spanish machine company. And so they make a lathe for clothing. It came with a Dixon tool post. This is an M90, and I think it's their own little proprietary spin on the Dixon tool post. I know there's other companies, like I think My Ford and some other of the European companies like prefer they get delivered with a Dixon tool post. But anyway, these are hard to come by. In fact, I had I think my lathe came with 5 tool holders, and so I've since increased it to a bank. I think I have somewhere around 10 or 15 of them now, and I made the other ones. You know, what I wound up doing was I called the company and I'm like, hey man, I need to get, like, how much would it cost me to get 5 of these new? And because they're not really on eBay, or if people are selling them, they're for far over the cost that I would say is reasonable. Anyway, the company got back with me, and for 5 of these, they wanted like 700 euros, which is probably pretty close to $700, which makes it not really viable to spend over $100 on one of these. I mean, if I'm going to spend that money, I'd probably go with an Aloris tool post and, buy some Aloris tool post holders. I think they're more available in the US and it's easier to get. You could also buy some pretty good Taiwanese knockoff ones that, will get the job done for under $50. So, if you need like 10 of them, which I've been kind of trying to accomplish here because with my lathe setup, because I don't really like changing the tools and setting the heights and everything. It's better if you just have your tool like on a tool post and ready to go so you can quick change it out. Anyway, this is an M90. I guess it's what it's equivalent would be a BXA in the Aloris size. So I got 3 of them with this auction. Here's the difference. You see they basically use this surface here has a kind of a V grooved way on both sides of it, which basically align the tool this way. And then when you turn the tool post, there's this T-slot here, and there's this T that goes down to the section, and it pulls this tool into alignment with that tool post. So I think the problem a lot of people have with these is that setting the height is a little squirrely. I mean, in reality, you kind of have the same situation with the Dixon tool post because you're basically using a screw like this to set the height. I think the dovetail ways on a Dixon tool post do a better job of kind of grabbing onto the side of the dovetails and pulling it like down into engagement, because the way that tool post works, it pulls it in this way, and I think it helps to index the height a little better. But I have never had any problem with this. Let me show you how this works real quick. Yeah, so here's the Dixon tool post that comes on my lathe. So basically, instead of having that big arm here that opens and closes it, it comes with a tool, which, I mean, it's an extra step to use, but you just twist that, and what it does is it relaxes this little T in here. Let me pull this off and show you. And it allows you to pull it out and off. But when you set this down in here, this little shoulder on this screw indexes against the tool post and sets the height. If you could think about what's happening here, when you tighten it up, it pulls that tool into alignment with these V blades, and kind of sucks it up against the tool post. But like I said, I've heard people complaining that it's difficult to set the height on this. I mean, I have never experienced that. I've used both kinds. I will admit that it's easier if you just have the handle here to be able to get the thing off or not. But I have I have this little tool just sitting right here, and it's not a big extra step. And you know, I already, like I said, my lathe came with 4 or 5 tool holders. Here's one right here for this boring bar. That one's pretty cool because you can stick a boring bar in there, and then there's a bushing in there that allows you to kind of adjust the size. Let me think. Is there any other? I don't know. I have a couple different kinds, and I wound up making these, which are shop made. But you know, and I mean, they work fine. They work good. I don't really have a major issue with it. You know, the tool. These are easy to make. You know, I mean, you don't have to do anything special. And I think these V grooves are easy to machine than a dovetail. So I don't know. I've been considering keeping with these, but long story short is I found a set at this auction. They happened to be selling my lathe, and so they offered a couple of these tool holders, and so I went ahead and sprung and bought them. So with that lot, it came with 3, which if I bought these from that company, it would probably cost me like $120 a piece. So I think I paid like right around $100 for these 3. Which is kind of high, to be honest. But, I mean, they came with these extra tools here. I don't have a boring bar this size, so, I mean, there's that. We'll call that a throw-in item. And then it came with all these little wingdings here that can stick into the side of that tool post. And, I mean, some of these tools they have on here, they're ground. They look kind of a little gamey, like this guy here. Look at this. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. It's kind of weird. I don't like these kind of parting tools. I've found that they have trouble. Like when you have that long cantilever, a lot of times I don't know, not as much with the lathe they have now, but with the previous lathe that was smaller, didn't have as much like substantial structure and stiffness in it. And so I found that these were prone to burning up and snapping off. And so I usually use this style here, where it's got the little insert. I think the main benefit that I've had so far is that I bought like a bigger lathe, and it's sufficiently stiff, and I just haven't had a lot of problems with it. But anyway, I have most of my experiences with this kind of parting tool here, where it uses a little insert. I have had these break before or snap out of this holder, which can suck. But to me, it's easier just to stick one of these in than, you know, regrind something like this. Mostly because I don't have a lot of experience doing it, and it's time consuming, and I should probably, you know, spend some more time getting proficient at doing that than just, you know, throwing money at inserts. But anyway, so these little accessory items came with it. Like I said, these just stick into the side of these tool holders, like this, for example. And I don't know, it's kind of, to me, it defeats the purpose a little bit of having a quick change tool post, because you're wind up having to fiddle around with these extra things and stick them in and out. But I think there may be some benefits in, you know, kind of having like a little bit of an offset in your tool post holder. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much. Look at this one. This is kind of cute. You see that little boring bar in there? Look how small that is. Let me zoom in. I mean, it's like half of nothing. Anyway, somebody ground that and stuck it in there. I wonder what they were making with that. But yeah, these are filthy. So they're covered in like schmutz and chips. And so I'm going to soak these in water with just palm olive dish soap for a little while. And most of this grease is going to come off. Some of the rust will come off. And then I'm going to submerge them in this Evapo-Rust here. I found this stuff's pretty good to take off surface rust and just get rid of it. And then I think for these tool holders here, I think I'm just going to soak these in soap. As long as they're in water, in soap, you don't, like the corrosion will start coming off. It's once you pull them out and get them in air, you need to dry them off really quick. But it should make most of this grease and stuff just like float right off, and then you could put it in the Evapo-Rust after that, and then you'll get good surface contact. And like this one here has some surface rust on it. You can see It's hard to see in the picture. You can see a little bit of brown on there. I think this is like some kind of treatment where they submerge these in acid and then it, you know, puts this finish on here. And if you put oil on it and keep it lubricated, the tool won't rust. A couple of these little cutters. I've used these in the past. They're pretty good to use. Not my favorite, but kind of nifty. And so I got a couple of those. They look pretty new, like not used. Came with this big end mill here. This is 1 inch. Let's see what it is. 1 inch high-speed steel, USA, 5.798. I don't know what that is, and there's a part number. Anyway, it's kind of a big guy, and it's got one on each side. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. It's super sharp, so it's brand new. I think it has never been used as well. And so it's kind of a good score. In one of the lots, I got this little drift here. This is for knocking out, you know, something with a taper out of a sleeve like this. You could stick that drift in this gap here and smack on it a couple times and whatever's in your, these tapers will come out. I got some of these old boring bars too. These are kind of beaters, to be honest with you. They're not in the best shape. I mean, some of them look decent, but it's hard to say really if they're usable. Maybe I'll try them on something I don't really care about. This one looks like somebody's ground a little bit around on that cutting edge, which might be good. This one's rusted. It looks like it's been ground on a little bit, and the cutting edge is starting to diminish. Same thing here. But yeah, these are disgusting. They need to get dropped in water and put some and dissoap and dissolve some of that crud and then put in Evaporust. Maybe they'll clean up a little bit. I'll try to use them if I can. I'm not exactly sure what this is. I don't see a brand name on it. Okay, it says Supreme 1ST2. Not exactly sure what that is, but it looks like you have a drill chuck taper on this side. This looks like about a 1 inch shank. So maybe this inserts into some kind of tooling and allows you to put a drill chuck on one end. I don't know. Maybe I'll do some research on that. I also got one of these N14 Jacobs chuck. This is Jacob ball bearing super chuck is what it says. It has very, very smooth action. Obviously it's corroded and needs to get like cleaned up and lubricated. And so anyway, I've been eyeballing one of these because it's kind of like a in between large and extra large size. I have a very big 18N chuck already. And so there's a limit to the, when you're trying to put small like drill bits in that one. So this one will help like kind of step down a little bit. Got another Jacobs chuck here. And this is a number 3, capacity 0 to 730 seconds. And so, and it looks like it has like a M3 taper on this guy. Same thing here with a tang, which you can stick in the tailstock of your lathe, and you know, for drilling holes and stuff. This one here is a little cruddy, and it sounds kind of like. Let me see if I can turn it and you can hear it. It's a little gritty, and I mean, there's all kinds of crap down in there. Let's see if I can zoom you in. Yeah, so it's not in the best shape. So I'm gonna try to clean this one up, and if I can get it like working really well and all that rust off of there, I will continue to use it. If not, I'll probably sell it to somebody for pretty cheap. This is a live center, and the reason we call it live center is because it's got a bearing in here, and then this pointed tip here, it's allowed to float with that bearing, so it turns with your work. A lot of times people use a dead center, which is fine. It can start wearing the end of the part and causes some heat and stuff. These just seem to run more stable and concentric. Maybe somebody wants to argue with me over that. I probably wouldn't. I don't really have a strong opinion about it. I like using these better because I don't have to worry about, you know, wear between the center and the part you're turning. But anyway, I already have one of these, but I can't tell what brand it is. It's pretty funky and it's rusted, so I'm gonna Evaporust it and try to buff it off and see if I can see a like a maker's mark on there or some kind of part number and try to figure out what it is. But this fits my lathe. This looks like an R8 taper here with maybe a 3/4 inch insert in it. I'm not exactly sure what that is. It looks too small to fit that drill taper. So I maybe there was some kind of tool that gets inserted into here. I'm gonna try to knock that out and figure out what it is. I don't know if I can use this or if it's what to do with it, but you know, it is what it is. And I got this little drill chuck taper here. And I don't know, this might be like a Morris 2 or Morris 1 on this side with a tang. Let's see what it says. Okay, this is made by Cushman. MT, I don't know, I can't read that writing. It's got a code on it. I'll have to look it up, but it looks like it's made in Japan. Usually parts made in Japan. Let's see, Poland, Eastern Europe, well, some countries in Eastern Europe, Austria, Switzerland, Spain, Germany, Sweden. Usually their stuff is very good quality. Japan is in that same category. Some of the other Asian countries, your mileage may vary. I think most of the new tools are made in Taiwan for the precision stuff. There's Chinese made. And so what I found is you can get decent stuff out of Taiwan if the factory is ISO 9000 or whatever. I don't know what the distinction is. A lot of times it's hard to tell where these parts come from. Mainland China parts are usually a little less quality. That's just my observation. I don't have any data to support that, but it's just what I found, like dumpster diving for machine parts over the years. Okay, this boring bar here is another thing that I got. I think I paid about maybe $100 for this. But okay, so this is a Chandler duplex. It's a model D60. I want to say 60. It's the number's like punched out. I think it's a D63. Serial number 5188. And so what this allows you to do is you can set your boring bar at some offset distance and then just bore a hole like you regularly do. Or you can hold on to this and it moves the boring bar radially outboard. So you can do a facing operation with this too. And it just requires you to like hold this little disc here. And as it spins, it articulates the gears in here and this little slide, it will sort of start to work its way uniformly outboard and do a face milling operation. So I thought that was pretty cool. One of the things I'm sitting here stressing about is it looks like something's broken off inside of this bore. I notice that till right now, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. It looks like mud or something. I'm hoping it's not a weld. Anyway, man, I might have to do something to sort that out. I might wind up taking this apart and seeing if I could bore that hole out and re-tap it. But I bet what happened is they might have broke something off in there. And yeah, so that's gonna be a problem. I will still be able to figure this out, even if I have to remachine this this taper. I have all the drawings for this, so I can re-engineer it if I need to. Obviously, this is a lot of work that probably a lot of people aren't prepared to do. It's just a risk you take when you buy stuff at an auction. I've gotten a couple diamonds and I've got a couple duds as well, and so I'm not ready to say this is a dud yet, but anyway, it's going to require some work cleaning it up. It's in pretty good shape. I think for the most part, it seems like it works. It turns freely. There's no funny noises or it doesn't feel gravelly like that drill chuck. So I'm going to take it apart, give it a bath in some detergent, hopefully lift some of that grease off of there, get rid of the rust, and we'll see what we have to work with. I'm just going to pick around on this to see. Oh, look at that. Yeah, it's just like a mud dauber's nest. Weird. I was hoping that's what it was. Oh my God. It looked like a weld. It was covered in schmutz and it just kind of had that like overlaid. Like it looked like somebody snapped the fastener off and maybe tried to weld something to it, but yeah, okay, that opened up. Let me dump that out and see what it is. Yeah, so like that, either somebody dropped that in the dirt and it just kind of covered that hole. Some more stuff in there, or maybe a wasp or something like try to make a nest. One things I found is sometimes you'll have like, you know, caked on crap and it makes some of the screws hard to get out. And so if you could, you know, let them sit for a little while and, you know, dissolve some of that or at least soften it up, it helps with the disassembly process. So anyway, I'm going to do that. I also got this little set of gauge blocks here. It's kind of a beater set. It's not in the best shape. Most of the machine faces are in pretty good condition. I noticed that one of the numbers it had the wrong size in it, and so I'll have to figure out how to get it replaced. But I've looked through it, and most of them are there and in decent quality. So I could use these with like in setups when I machine stuff. Usually you're not going to take your like a high quality metrology set for like part inspection and use it for like clamping in some kind of a setup, you know, to create offsets or to use with like a sign bar or something like that. So, I mean, completely valid application for something like these. I have another set made by Mitsutsuyo and they're in pretty good condition also, but there's not very many blocks in there. I think it has like there's maybe like 10 blocks in there, and they're mostly bigger sizes. So this is a more full set, so you can make minor incremental adjustments of 1/1000th of an inch. Actually, this one says 0.1001. So anyway, it's sort of a more variety. Another thing I like about this set is it's pretty small. Some of them, they have gigantic boxes. It takes up a lot of drawer space. So something little like this. And because these aren't new and they're kind of like in a respectable but used condition, I'm not going to say it allows you to sort of disrespect these, but you don't have to worry about them as much damaging, you know, the precision surfaces and, you know, creating an issue with like a very expensive metrology set. And so anyway, nice score. I think I paid like $35 for these, which is decent for what it is. I mean, you know, with these tool holders here, one of the things they threw in was this tool post, and I couldn't tell what it was in the auction, and I don't really need two tool posts. But this is a Aloris tool post here. You can see it's got the little part mark right there, her maker stamp, Aloris. And so this is a CXA Aloris tool post, which is interesting because I'm kind of set onto this Dixon style system like I talked about earlier. And I mean, this is not the best tool post in the world, but I pretty much got it for free, right? Because I was buying, like I said earlier, I spent about $100 on that lot, and this just came in it. And so I couldn't tell what it was. It could have been anything. I'm debating now whether I want to go over from what I have now to the Dixon setup and sell all the ones that I have or what. So I need to think that through. I'm also going to take this apart and, you know, take a look at all the components, see what shape they're in. I mean, I want to assume there's probably a reason this wasn't on a lathe. I mean, maybe that's a bad assumption. Maybe they just found something better and had it on there. But yeah, and I also want to check to see if this fits my lathe, because that would be interesting. It may have already like had this T-piece machined so that it fits on my setup. And so let me check that real quick, actually. Okay, so I'm just going to hold this up. No, it's too wide. So if I wanted to install this on my lathe, though, what I would have to do is, you know, take a little material off of this part so that I can make it fit. It looks like it's a little offset, so it's already been machined for another machine. So I don't know. I mean, I might have to remake this to get it to fit that lathe. But anyway, it looks like it's in decent shape. I mean, it's kind of old. It's beat up. It's rusty. But I imagine it would probably work fine. So anyway, I'm probably going to take this apart and give it a closer look and see if it's worth keeping. And maybe if I could salvage it, I'll use it, or maybe I'll sell it on the internet for to somebody else that's looking for one, and make a couple $100. For what I saw, they like these tool posts, they cost about, man, maybe $250 to $400 used. I think a new one's close to $700 after you get done with shipping and all that other stuff. So anyway, just a throw-in item. So a couple of these things I'm not going to wind up keeping. I'll, maybe throw them on Marketplace and make a couple bucks on the side, but pretty happy with the score. I got one other item that's I'm waiting on to get from UPS, and when that gets here, I'll finish this video up. Okay, the last thing I got in this auction is in this box here. I'm not going to introduce it because it'll kind of ruin the drama, but here you go. I saw one of these one time on a YouTube video, and this guy was basically using one of these, and I'm like, dude, I have to get one of those. I mean, I have no reason to need one. I just thought it was awesome. So anyway, I found this one on an auction. I think I paid $500 for it, which is pretty good. Usually they go for like around $1,000, $1,200 on eBay. This one has all the stuff that goes with it. Luckily, I got the belt and everything. It's kind of nerve-wracking sometimes when you buy this stuff without looking at it because you don't really know what you're getting. But anyway, what this is this, your spindle inserts into this bore here, and you put a 3/4 inch collet on, and then there's this like spline adapter that goes in the collet, and there's a spline right here, and so your spindle turns that, and this guy is like bolted with these bolts here. It's like clamped around the spindle, and what it gives you is another axis, and so you turn the handle back there, and it allows us to turn around like a turret 360 degrees, and then this is a cross slide here, and so you can basically adjust this in and out relative to 0 on the scale, and it puts you at a radius from like the center line of the spindle here. And see, like I said, you could adjust this back and forth with this slide, and then you can turn the angle. So if you want to go around the corner of a part and create a radius, you'd go to like the center point of whatever the radius is, and then you dial in like the radius number on this, and then you turn that crank and it'll cut right around the corner, which is kind of cool. It's a little bit of a relic, made probably in the 60s or 70s. And, it was for trying to get, do curves, outside curves and stuff like that. It's usually difficult on milling machines, but it basically gives you another axis. So it's kind of a toy. Like I said, I don't really need it for anything, but I'm sure I'm going to find a couple jobs that I could use on it. So it uses these little ER or E25 collets. Looks like they're using the ER 25 collets here, which have like more of these slots in here. They're also more widely available. So there's a couple sides here. This hooks into the quill feed on your milling machine with a belt, and then this pulley here, and you can hook this thing up so that it uses the like the auto feed on your milling machine to turn the circle, so you get a nice clean finish. Anyway, I might set this up on the Bridgeport and just kind of show it off a little bit. But yeah, I've never seen one of these in person or used one. Like I said, I saw a YouTube video, and I kind of went on a rabbit hole, kind of looking into what all it did, and it's pretty cool. There's a couple gadgets like that for the Bridgeport that kind of give you some like an extra dimension of capability. It's usually for kind of really specific, specialized jobs, but as far as accessories go, I think this is probably one of the craziest ones they have. Anyway, looks like it's in good shape. I tested it out. Everything moves, and so I have pretty good confidence that it's going to work. As far as I can tell, it looks like a good quality tool, and I'm looking forward to using it.